once we start the recording, it's going to be about 2 hours. We don't know exactly. It could be an hour and a half. It just depends on where we go and what we do. And a lot of this has to do with each one of you as Atmas co-creating the journey together, because when we go outside of Earth's atmosphere, we don't bring any fear with us, which means you people are creating on a pure level together, and that's something that's easy for you to do when we're outside of Earth's atmosphere. And I wanted to make it clear that that omnipresent, that energy that's out in space, that is a white golden light that appears black to people's eyes on Earth, is a field of energy that extends way larger than the little galaxies that floats in it. The galaxies that turn on their axis with little round objects like stars and moons and planets and suns circling a center of a greater cluster of planets and moons and suns has a vortex of white golden light running up down through the axis of a galaxy. That doesn't just go up like scientists on Earth think, and it's just creating what's called a toroidal field, an electromagnetic field around the galaxy. It looks just like the one around you. It looks just like the one around an individual planet or a sun. There's also one around the whole galaxy. That shaft of light in the center of a galaxy is an interdimensional doorway. It goes lower in vibration and it goes higher, but it continues all the way up through the planes, all the way up through the void, up through Satnam's realm, way up into the higher planes and into the center of the ocean of sound and light itself. So there is a constant communication or network of higher hue reaching the lower worlds. The problem in the lower worlds has been that people aren't aware of it. So it supports them, but it doesn't do them any good because people aren't co-creating like they should be, being able to travel on this one energy. The omnipresent power has no limits like the speed of light, neither do we. We're made of the very same energy as the source itself. So we travel as spherical beings, which has a toroidal field, a zero-point energy electromagnetic field around it, just like a galaxy or a planet. And that's comprised of a form of the hue. It allows objects to float in this huge omnipresent power. And that's how more advanced races from the stars understand how to work with that energy, because that energy in space that supports everything is not nuclear, it's not atomic, it's not made of molecules, it's not atoms, it's not electrons, it's not DNA. It is a power that cannot be affected by negative things. It supports positive and negative things that beings miscreate, particularly on Earth, but on other worlds too, to some degree. And it's unbiased and unprejudiced. It just simply supports everything. So when people create with fear, they create a return from space-time that supports the fear and the good things they imagine. So people are caught on Earth creating both things, and they're opposed to each other. Opposites, good and bad, positive and negative. The imagination becomes split in people, and the energy gets cut in half and gets grounded into the earth. Because it's cut in half and grounded into the earth does not get charged. Water, or H2O, which is the first very simple atoms in creation, both are gases, but when you put them together, they're a water. And water has capabilities and characteristics to store massive amounts of information and store a lot of the hue. Atmas can't store the hue. What we are does not store hue like a battery. It draws from the omnipresent power around it and manifests energy instantly, but it doesn't store it. So, when we create something in the omnipresent power, which people call divine spirit on Earth without really knowing what it is at all, we're not meant to pray to it. If you think about it, prayer is kind of imagining something, right? It's generally structured around getting something or from the source itself, which is okay to a degree, but people have made that full time. That's all they pray for, is what they want. What they should be doing is imagining new ways to do things with many other wonderful beings that are capable of helping us get free here and capable of helping us co-create, being people that create solutions instead of people that continue to create problems. Everything becomes repolarized on these journeys. The Atma that you are begins to function like it should. People are functioning upside down and backwards because they don't even know they are something running a body. They wonder what soul is. They don't know what it looks like. They don't know where it is. They've long forgotten that. Long forgotten that even before implants were put into them, before they were captured and put on this earth with no memory. And that happened to everybody on this planet. It goes back in galactic history. It's nice to be able to do an English journey, and believe me, I wish I could bring my ability to speak all languages that I know how to do as an Atma outside of Earth's atmosphere. I wish I could bring that here, but I haven't been authorized for that kind of thing yet. And if I were, it'd get me into nothing but trouble. Governments would want to know how I'm doing that. How can he speak all the languages? And they'd want to take me into a laboratory and put me under the National Security Act, suspend constitutional rights, and it just gets into a whole mess. People from other worlds that understand the problems people on Earth are having do not reveal themselves openly in this way, or they don't normally show their abilities to people on Earth because Earth people, quite frankly, would abuse the experience. Their fear would misdirect them. And unfortunately, instead of gaining something from someone revealing these higher abilities, they would act in fear and want to attack it or to control it. And this is not the way the hue works. It cannot be controlled by anyone. It supports all life. It is the first sound, the omnipresent power behind all creation. You look at these stars out in the galaxy, floating there in planets and billions of galaxies and many levels of it. It supports all of that. And it's unbiased and unprejudiced. The problem is it's a co-creator with us. Therefore, whatever we co-create, even if we're perverted and have primary implants and have been tortured and put on Earth, it supports what we imagine. So two things are most important in this work. One, dropping fear, learning what it is, learning that it's artificial, getting secondary implants gone, going to eventually to see what's in the primary implant, finding out how you were killed. And I have guided some people to see this. Not a lot yet, but certainly some. Because then the primary implant that put them here that blocks so much of their awareness that they used to have begins to awaken quite naturally. What all of you found difficult to comprehend 6 months or a year ago, it becomes like you just seem to know how to understand it now. And this becomes very natural. It's very easy. It's not what people think, where they have to put a lot of effort into meditation and yoga and doing all these exercises. The real thing, the way the hue really works, is we learn how to use it. We send it out from our childlike nature, from the heart, and then it connects to the hue in a new way. When the hue crosses our paths on a life so suppressed as they have been on Earth, in this way, you have demonstrated to it that you have the courage to step through that door, despite being implanted, despite being killed. To do that, revenge and hatred has to first be set aside. All of you have done that, more than you know, or we would not have met. So when this starts to go on these journeys in this way, we go outside in space first to plug into the pure hue, where no negative nature exists. And there we meet with master teachers, and we can go on trips and journeys to start to recall and remember what we used to know how to do without effort. The Atma does not work in effort. Something all of you should know. It's even, I tell myself this as I'm saying it. The Atma does not create in effort. That's negative. People think it's a lot of effort to do this and that. Well, on Earth it is because of the relationship we have to do in business or publishing books with other people who are in fear. It complicates things. It makes things more difficult to move things forward. The resistance of their fear gets in the way. Here's what's happened to Earth. Earth, because it is not a normal human planet yet, with so many people who don't know who they are, When the hue comes through them to charge the oceans and the rivers and the water in the atmosphere, it's blocked. So that the hue is not charged in Earth's oceans as it should be. On a normal world out there, so many beyond your comprehension, normal planets have water that glows a foot above the waves in the ocean, a foot above a waterfall, a foot above a lake. Coming out of a faucet, it glows. The water in people's bodies glow because they're walking around in this stuff. So people in other worlds don't have the problems we have on Earth. They just don't. There are a few planets where people were implanted and imprisoned. Most of them have already been liberated. Earth is the last one. It's the most difficult one. It has some of the most wonderful beings that ever lived trapped unconscious on this planet right now. And they don't even know it. When Ambassador Turellian first appeared before the Galactic Alliance Council on planet Zetronomy 1, it changed the 5,000 Galactic Alliance Council members. They were already living in paradise. They were already very enlightened. But not even they were going to the high worlds above the void. They had all forgotten that too. Which means they were not fulfilling their reason for existing. That reason is to become a conscious, trustworthy co-creator with the source behind all life itself directly. Not faith, not belief. You go into faith and belief, and if it's in childlike wonder, it will lead to direct experience. Direct experience awakens everything. Direct experience begins to give you the ability to let go of the subconscious, terrible habit of fear. Fear of the present, fear of the future, fear of dying, fear of losing bodies, fear of bodies growing old. You name it, it's all based on artificially implanted nonsense. And that's what it is, nonsense. None of it's true, and none of it is who we are. What we are is that spherical, beautiful, radiant sphere that's on the front cover of the Emerald Doorway book. That is what we are. Make no mistake about it. We didn't come into existence in the image of some human being. These bodies were not made in the image of the source or prime creator, as people are quite mistakenly taught on Earth. That's wrong. Bodies don't last. They come and they go. They drop off of the Atma. The Atma moves on. It cannot be destroyed. You've had bodies so many, you can't, if I told you how many, you wouldn't even believe it. Which means it makes all of you very ancient beings now, doesn't it? It makes you very ancient. Forget about lifetimes of 10,000 years. You've had them. Forget about lifetimes you've had in bodies you've run the lower dimensions of time and space. You've had them. More than you would care to know about. And then you end up on Earth with no memory. That's kind of a sad statement. After being billions of years old and experiencing so many levels, to find yourself on Earth with no memory. It happened to me. I was stuffed into this body against my will, and its former occupant kicked out when it was 3 by some tyrants. I don't feel alone in this. It happened to every one of you. In my journey in this life, I was able to get rid of the things that certain tyrants thought I could never get rid of. I was able to do it because, in truth, each Atma has the ability to master any form of negative nature, anything in the lower worlds. It's an Atma. It's made of pure God energy, and it has mastery over the lower worlds. But when you're tortured or twisted or implanted and creating a subconscious mind and sticking it around your past lives and keeping you from seeing it, then we doubt and fear that we no longer know how to do what we know how to do. These journeys are to help you gain back that confidence. It starts with a few and works into entire planetary systems, because the omnipresent new expansion ray, or new consciousness moving through the omnipresent hue, which is derived from the first half of the word human, it becomes a master teacher for every one of us. Not in the way it did before when it just supported our actions, good or bad, and we trapped ourselves over and over again. No. When you cross paths with the you now, it's only one way, onward and upward. In other words, it sees your potential, it sees your courage, it says, okay, this one should be guided back to the source so it can fulfill its original commission, its original purpose for existing, to go into the lower worlds, run bodies, have experience, not be trapped, and go back home, to upload into the source itself our experiences as unique beings. When we do that, that source, what you think is infinite, and it is, knows everything, only knows everything that exists right now. It does not know what the future will be because we have not contributed to it yet to create it. Our job as individual beings is to help create the way the lower worlds of time and space are run, and they're terribly mismanaged now because the beings running these different planes are subconscious. They have fear themselves. These Purushas, these governors of the planes and the lower worlds, aren't doing anything to help you get free, but they're being changed as we speak. And that's being done through Satnam. Satnam is their boss. He runs the plane above the void, beyond what Buddhists think is the supreme being. It is not. It's pure hue, so I can see why they would think that. And it's just this beautiful plane of energy with nothing in it. So they say it's a void. But it's a barrier between the upper realities and lower worlds of time and space. It means it keeps beings with any kind of fear or negative nature from entering the void. Nothing of a negative nature can be taken into that void, no matter what you think, no matter what you do. Only the Atma itself can cross the void and go into the upper realities and go home. And the purpose for that is for you to return to start to be a co-creator with the source, supreme being, prime creator, whatever you want to call it, the ancient one. That is our actual purpose for existing as one of those spherical Atmas. Those teardrops on all those layers not only record all your lives you've lived in the physical, astral, causal, mental, etheric, and in the upper worlds and many planets beyond count. It records the wisdom and higher faculties of your ability to circumnavigate the entire multidimensional creation. It is in you already. It cannot be given to you. You already have it. There was a time long ago when you knew how to use those things. And as we picked up fear over billions of years, even before you were implanted and stuffed in a body on Earth, you knew how to do this. It took billions of years for people to gradually forget their higher faculties that would take them across the void back home. They got caught up in the passions of the mind, caught up in being with lovers and with family and all of that, which is fine and good, but we were never meant to be trapped in bodies doing any of that. We were meant to know who we are and then enjoy bodies and each other, but without being stuck, forgetting what we are. So what goes on in these journeys isn't about denying yourself anything, getting rid of your families or any of that. It's just about waking up who you are so you can do all that better, way better. That's what it's about. Nobody has to ever give up anything in any life on any planet running any body anywhere except one thing: fear. Fear is not a real human emotion. It's artificial. It's implanted. It came from outside of us. It's planted in the field of energy around the Atma, not in the Atma. Nothing negative can go into that Atma. That means that there's nothing of a negative nature in any one of you in what you really are. That's outside of you, around you. That's what needs cleaning. Earth's atmosphere needs cleaning. It's just saturated with negative, torture, death, and Rome, and sacrifice, and wars, and nonsense, and stupidity. It's full of the events of the past. They've all been recorded into the molecules that make up the atmosphere, and such things stay within the atmosphere. They do not go out into space. The omnipresent you outside of Earth You cannot record any of that stuff there or take it with you. You can take it with you around your own being, but you can't put it out in that omnipresent you. It does not go there. So we go out in space to be in the pure hue, not in Earth's atmosphere. That still needs to be cleaned. There are beings and races that know how to remove all the negative thoughts and deeds that were ever done on this planet going back 65 million years since the dinosaurs were made extinct. They could come here and clean the entire planet. Water, air, ground, pollution, microbes that should have been gone a long time ago that create competition in the human DNA, cause disease. These things don't exist on those planets. They got rid of them. Microbes that cause disease are earlier evolutions of things that became human or other bodies in other forms that are a carryover. And as bodies evolved further, they became in competition to establish themselves within bodies and start to destroy life. It's a competition. All the disease on Earth is caused by microscopic life in one form or another. More advanced races know how to deal with these things quite easily, quite effortlessly, very, very well. And they have for hundreds of millions of years. Earth is really retarded and very much in the background in this regard. It is not destined to stay this way. So when this is telepathic, it means as I'm sharing this with you, it is being permanently awoken in you, bringing this awareness to the forefront of your consciousness because you're capable of allowing it to happen. And once this is done, you will never forget it again. It's one way. This is the good part. So we imagine someone we respect and love, we're grateful they are in our life, a person, place, or thing. What this does as a mechanism, because this is in English, I can make it clear to all of you. We do it in Thai, but I have to pause and then Pari translates and pause, and that's all good. When we can do it in English, it goes a little deeper, a little faster, and a little wider. Because there's no hesitation in the flow of the hue to you, from me, or through Pari. No hesitation at all. It's a constant flow. We're in the middle of translating or starting to translate more of the series agenda into the Thai language. It is a hugely difficult task. And particularly Thai, because there's no periods or commas in the Thai language. And in Latin-based languages and English, there are other things like that. So we have to make sure it's transferred in a way that will read inspirationally, and you'll get the same message in Thai that we're able to deliver in English. Pari knows how the English very well. She knows the experiences very well. She knows how to read it very well. And she's done a lot of guiding these things at hotel meetings and translating what I do into Thai. So she's reviewing what translators do for this book because she is the only one in the right position to make sure they're not making mistakes, and they make a lot of them. We're still trying to find the right translator. The last one worked with us for several months, quit. He quit because he was fighting us on certain things, insisting that we use street language, common street language in Thai in the book, and it does not belong in a book. It breaks up the flow of the thought, so we had to do it, and we're still working on getting this right. We're taking really careful time to get this done. We want it to be of the most benefit for all of you when it's in Thai. And for you that can read English, you already have the books in English. When you have them in Thai, it's going to be a lot more fun too, if that's your native tongue. That's how you grew up. So this is why we're doing it. So when you imagine someone you love and respect, it just needs to be a person, place, or thing. Something that makes you smile inside when you first visualize it, whatever it is. It could be a past spiritual master, a current one. Could be a cat. They always did it for me, just a cat. I just look at a cat's eyes, bingo, I'm in the hue. They're pure. I have a lot of fun with that. You look at a waterfall or a hummingbird or a baby smile, it doesn't matter. As long as it's genuine. With the eyes closed, here's what's happened. You close the eyes, and people do it every day, but they have no clue what they're doing. You close the eyes. It shuts off the brain that picks up and receives information, positive and negative, from the atmosphere of the earth that surrounds you. And then some other doorway opens up through the pineal gland in the center of the brain, which is how you run a body. Through the pineal gland runs everything in the nervous system, but it's run from you, and you aren't in the body. You are an Atma. The Atma could be inside the body, in the head, 50 feet behind it, or even on another planet running the body. It has no such limits as time and distance and space. It moves and operates in a continuous connection from the core of the Atma, the white core, to the omnipresent golden white light, and it's never a broken connection. The body dies, the connection is not broken. It cannot be broken. It's not part of the material worlds of space and time. It's part of the power that supports such things. And so are we. So it opens this doorway, connects it like a telephone line of golden white light between the Atma and the body in a conscious way. Every night people leave their body when they put it to sleep. But they're not trained to do this at all from birth. Fear gets in the way, and they don't bring back much memory from where they're going. Yet they're going every night. What we're doing on these journeys, and why they're so important, is because they're based on direct experience. This means that as direct experience is accumulated within you, higher faculties you haven't used in a billion years begin to be turned back on. And then the conscious comprehension of how to do this stuff and what it means also resurfaces. It's a natural process. The omnipresent hue, in taking you on as students in a way, with respect, it begins to take charge of your general overall enlightening direction. And this means that while you're alive, you begin to have more experiences outside of the body, in dreams at night, walking down a street, going up to the U Expansion Ray Academy, going to other planets as we're going to do on this journey. And when you bring them back to the physical body on Earth, what you're doing is enlightening a body that has had none of this training whatsoever in this entire lifetime. I mean none. So why should you grow up as an adult feeling comfortable with leaving your body or going to other planets? You don't need a spaceship to go to another planet. Spaceships are limiting. Yes, many beings use them to get around the universe, but such beings also know how to get out of their body even while they're on the trip. Beings that remove secondary implants not from Earth get out of their bodies in order to do it. This is what people on Earth do not understand. Such things cannot be removed yet by anyone, including me, on the planet Earth. It has to be done by beings who have no subconscious mind, no negative subconscious influence. If you understand this, then you are understanding a great deal. This journey is not about secondary implants. This journey is not about the primary implant. This journey already puts in place that those things are shut off in you by very kind beings that are assigned to each one of you. Shantiel and Tonaltiel and Dantiam Lamtiam even do that around Pari and myself. Other beings of their associates do that around each one of you. Very kind, very advanced, not from Earth, never born on Earth, no subconscious mind, no implants. Hundreds and hundreds of years old that look to be 36. They show us a pure energy form that looks human. It's a projection from the white core of the Atma. This is something all liberated beings know how to do, including you. So, if we see Shantiel and Tonaltiel or Dantiam and Lamtiam and other couples around each of you, they're generally about 6 feet tall with hair to their shoulders. Seems to be a trait of Galactic Alliance personnel. Not all. Many of them have hair to their shoulders. Clean, neat. Not many people with beards. That kind of thing. Some planets with them, but not many. By the time they work in this field and come to Earth and get stationed in our solar system, they're here for one purpose, which is the same thing purpose they're here for in the Emerald Star cruisers permanently stationed for now in the ice rings of the planet Saturn, which is where it is. The Mount Shasta base is an extraterrestrial base inside Mount Shasta in Northern California. I live less than an hour drive from that base. That was built there in 1908 by the Galactic Alliance. There are other base locations on Earth like that. Technologically, they are always kept in a slightly higher frequency, parallel dimension on Earth, slightly different looking Earth. They're kept in that frequency to keep from being detected or attacked from anybody on Earth, any military, any classified people. They can do nothing with this technology, with these people. Nothing. Most classified people understand there are beings here and have been coming here from many world systems. They can't stop them. None of these beings have attacked Earth or tried to take anybody over. People are developing weapons, first of all in the classified community, to defend themselves against alien attacks because of fear. And yet in 70 years, and all their fear and all their silly actions, nobody's ever attacked. No one is ever going to attack this Earth. There's no one out there anymore in our solar system that can do that. They were removed. One of the things that's unique about this work is getting across for the benefit of classified people, governments, religious leaders, and everybody on Earth. Even for plants and animals and rocks and trees, the air, the water, this is for their benefit. Because getting rid of fear solves all problems that can ever exist on any world. And that's all that has to be let go of. Once that's done, the natural abilities you've always had begin to resurface. Thus, secondary and primary implant removal situations. There's a man and a woman standing beside each one of you. This is a pure energy form. They don't have to worry about sitting down or bumping into a wall. They'd pass right through them anyway. So, when you imagine, which is just daydreaming, you all do anyway, with like experts, just when you imagine going to the store, the beach, or taking a trip in an airplane, you first have to imagine it, and then your body follows. It's the Atma that does the imagining, seeing into the other realities, not the brain, not the personality you grew up with. That's a big mistake people make because they don't know any better. When you look out into something and see another planet, as we're about to do, or you go to a higher dimension, this is something all Atmas understand when they're awake, when they've been freed from amnesia, terrorizing amnesia. Remember that any implant, whether it's primary or secondary, are artificial, imposed upon you without your consent. It's how we look into the universe beyond the outer surface of the Atma to see the universe, and we see it distorted, fear influenced, and then we can't get out. We can't do what we're supposed to do. So these beings standing beside you, very kind, smiling, slightly bigger eyes than Earth humans because they have slightly bigger eyes than Earth humans, 4-stranded DNA or more, generally 4. They are not like Earth people. You cannot compare them and think Earth people are kind of like them, because Earth people are not. They don't live on a planet that has problems like Earth. They don't live with governments that are like those on Earth. They don't have multiple governments in many countries. They have one planetary government that's part of the Galactic Alliance. And the most wise people run them, not corrupt people. People make mistakes because of subconsciously influenced fear. And when they do that, the decisions they make and impose on the rest of the world are always, in every case, wrong. Negative decisions cannot produce anything but negative results. You'd think they would have learned that by now. But how can you learn something if subconscious things are still influencing you? Well, you can't. It's impossible. So these journeys are also done for their benefit. That's why we don't have any enemies on Earth. No governments are an enemy of this work. I'm not opposed to any of them. I'm not adversarial to any of them. This is really from outside Earth, and it's treated as one planet. And all the people in it are treated as one planet, whether they can do it yet or not. It means that beings that know how to do this stuff simply telepathically reveal themselves to us, and eventually the hue flowing through them rubs off on us. It begins to stimulate and awaken childlike wonder. Childlike wonder is not childish. It means the childlike wonder to explore the whole universe without fear, without hesitation. This is what we're doing. These beings standing beside you are standing up near the ceiling, showing you this form. And you are a sphere hovering near the ceiling. They're hovering beside you. And then you realize each one of you has this perfect, if you're a male, perfect, handsome, 36-year-old, flawless body, nicely dressed. The women are perfectly beautiful, 36-year-old, perfectly dressed, and you're showing this part of yourself to them. This is something you can do when implants are turned off. You've always known how to do it. We always show our unique nature as individuals to each other in this way. So you might say that the physical appearing form that's perfect that you show each other is made in the image of the source. But even that isn't quite true. It's the Atma itself, the spherical being, the individual, unique drop out of a mighty ocean of sound and light, that is the unique nature of who you really are. Forms of bodies, even as projections of light, are secondary to who and what we are. Going through this telepathic process means that it's experiential. These aren't just words for your mindless entertainment. I don't do mindless entertainment. You can go out in the world, the internet, and pay thousands of dollars for somebody to pretend to help you in some way and not get very much done. Fear must be dropped, period, or we cannot advance. It's just that simple. When you realize you are the same as them, and these two guides do not have the problems you grew up with on Earth, they're going to take you up into space. I'm there, Pari's there, Master Ramu and Opelam and Etta and Din, Light C, Satnam, has been coming to these journeys out in space. He's all the way from above the void. It's amazing that he even decided to do it, because he never did this before in hundreds of billions of years. So something is really changing. He goes on these journeys because he's unbiased, he's unprejudiced. He's a power that regulates what happens in the lower worlds of time and space. What is underway is the failed experiment of good and evil that we all helped create before the lower worlds of time and space were built, is being changed. Because something new has been brought into the upper realities that was tested to be true, necessary, and kind when it came back to Satnam. That's how things get implemented. You can't change anything from the lower worlds to the lower worlds. We have to go back to our true nature, into an arena where no negative nature exists, and create change from no negative influence. This is what we're doing. Do not think of going to the Hue Expansion Ray Academy or the Atma plane where Satnam is as new for you. It's just something you haven't done in a few billion years. Now we're doing it. Because it's time. Because there is energy available in the omnipresent power there now out in space and in the planet that was not there before. Thousands upon thousands of years, what you call master teachers have had their hands tied, trying to get a single student out of these subconscious problems. Could take hundreds of years and a number of lifetimes under one guide. Very inefficient. And this is because fear dominated the students as well. No one that's a master teacher will force their will on anyone ever, for any reason, at any time. We have to be co-creatively involved with them to create our own freedom. And you are all co-creatively involved with them right now. Doesn't matter how much you're confident about it or not. The process is underway. And once that's begun, it cannot be reversed. It isn't fickle. It doesn't change its mind. It doesn't go backwards and forwards or sideways or drop off. It's one way, and it's onward and upward. This takes place in a way that your physical life takes on more sublime characteristics. What you know when you walk down the street is much more than what your fellow beings know around you. And so, without having to try to do anything to them, the hue expansion ray comes through you, and it knows when and where and how to fix those people. We do not. We want to have to say one thing about the source power itself. It is omnipresent. It's a living energy. It is not an individual like we are. It is one power comprised of all the Atmas that exist in the entire multidimensional creation that congregate in a source center from which all things new are directed. If we want everything to change, bitching about it will never do it. Not in another billion years. We have to co-create our way out of this by contributing to this change. This means that you are actually earning your way back to your own native enlightened state as an Atma. And this means that other beings along the way will be greatly benefited just because of what you know. And then they point up, these beings standing beside you, and you are at 10,000 meters in the atmosphere. This is to give you a perspective of how easy it is to move in the omnipresent hue. The omnipresent hue is in the atmosphere of Earth, I should say, behind it. And it has a sound you can hear as the Atma, like rumbling thunder. But it's not thunder that's frightening or explosive with lightning. It's an uplifting, omnipresent sound of the physical universe, of the hue. It vibrates on multiple dimensional levels in the physical universe, because the physical universe is not one dimension. The billions of galaxies you see from a Hubble Space Telescope imager, time-lapse photography, are only one level out of 144. And then there's the astral plane. And then there's the causal plane. And then there's the mental plane. And then there's the etheric plane. And then there's this massive void. But that's not the end. Further up, beyond the void, are other realities. On that side of things, there is no negative nature whatsoever. No fear, no matter, no space, no times, no planets, no moons, no suns. There are floating land masses, there are things there, but they're supported in an omnipresent field of light by very awakened, masterful beings. So such realms are actually maintained by beings. Like a projection from the Atma, they all work together to hold it in place. Silent mentors that are the mechanics of creation hold the hue expansion ray together. The whole plane, the academy, Satnam's realm. Actually, Satnam holds that whole dimension together by himself. That's bigger than the whole lower universes combined. Who knew? They point upward, and we find ourselves in outer space, standing around Ambassador Turelian. It still amazes me that such a being, first of all, understand that he does not feel fear. He has no subconscious mind. He has no physical body anywhere. He's never been implanted. They immortalized their form by turning it into energy and storing it 1 billion years ago. They are human. 12-stranded, prototypes of most beings that fly spaceships. Whether reptilians or greys or Nordics or tall whites or Pashats, tiger-like beings, mantis-type creatures, millions of others that are kind and work together out there. People on Earth have no idea the universe they're in. They should. They're meant to. And they're going to get the opportunity to recover all this. The more you know that you once knew this, the better off it is for you. Because then you're starting to give yourself the credit and the confidence, a little at a time, to go further and deeper, back into recovering your true self. And that self is made of an energy that cannot be destroyed. It cannot die. It isn't physical matter. Understand the space out there that supports galaxies is the hue. It cannot be destroyed. It's not made of molecules. Man, scientists on Earth today understand that's a powerful energy. They used to call it dark matter because it was dark to human eyes. It's not dark at all. When you're out of the body as the Atma, you see it as the white golden light it is, because what makes up that golden light moving through the layers of the Atma is the hue. We're made of it. We are it. That will never change. You could say that the Atma doesn't really evolve like bodies change and become something more, that the Atma can use in a higher way. That's what evolution is. Evolution is not for the Atma. It's for forms we run. The Atma becomes more and more astutely aware of its co-creative purpose with the Source. That is what we call God realization. Take the mystery out of it. Self-realization is knowing you're the Atma and not the body. God realization is knowing what to co-creatively do with yourself, with the Source itself. That's what that's about. If people are taught that God realization on earth is knowing the Supreme Being, this is not correct. It's co-creating with the Supreme Being. And it doesn't call itself that. Not beyond the void, it doesn't. Faith and belief are fine, but they should lead to experience. If they don't, they're a dead faith. They need the awakening of the first word or sound behind creation in them to give them life and vibrancy and experience. Without it, it's just belief. People get out of their bodies every day. They don't have to wait for it to pass away or die in order to be who they are. But because of the unconscious fear they have to remembering all this, many people pass away in terror and fear of the unknown, which is completely being influenced by artificial negative implants and nonsense. Nobody dies, ever. Nobody ever has. Bodies, yes. The Atma, no. We aren't, look, the worlds of matter, space, and time are kind of like a mock-up. They're real to the beings living and running bodies in it. But in a way, it's really the hue in different forms, what we call material, matter, space, and time. It's set in opposed energies, positive and negative, like the poles of a battery, to create manifestation between the two poles. They were not meant to be opposed to each other. When people imagine negative and positive, they're asking the omnipresent you to give them heaven and hell on earth. And that's exactly what they have. So you see, we must be conscious. When you're around in space, standing in a circle of beings around Turellian who's showing you an 18-foot tall body, he's doing it for a reason. He doesn't have a human form to worry about. Push around, feed, and take to the bathroom. The Sayres got rid of that nonsense a long time ago. He can enjoy a body, but it's stored in one of the teardrops in the yellow layer near the white core of his being. And when he wants to manifest it for a purpose, he draws from the omnipresent power, fills it, manifests it on the spot, and then shows it to us. And that's a body he did once have over 1 billion years ago. It does no longer exist in a physical form. This is pure energy. Just like the body you're showing him, that's pure energy too. That looks human. This is the reality of it. Simple, but people on earth have been deprived it entirely. There are advanced gurus on earth now that teach higher things, and they think there's only 3 sounds you can make with the human lips. Ah, oo, and or But that's not correct. There's a 4th one. Without that, you ain't going to go above the void, that's for sure. Not ever. The other thing that's required to go above the void is being able to imagine what's there. Remember, the omnipresent power only works with what you imagine. Not what you pray, not what you think, not even what you feel, what we imagine. Imagination is not made up in the brain. It is actually looking into the multidimensional creation, looking at things recorded from the past or looking at things that are out in the universe right now, somewhere in some place. That's what we're all capable of doing. People on earth don't yet know this, so they don't have any consciousness about it. You do. There is a difference. Master Ramu is near the earth in an orbit of people around Turelian. Turelian is the Atma hovering above his head. He's got this long hair, slightly wavy to his shoulders. It's blonde. He's like Caucasian, bigger eyes than a human, crystal clear, about 36, white gown on, bare feet, two thumbs up, golden white light around them, golden white. It's a brighter form of the hue than the oval of light that surrounds us as a form of protection out here in space. We don't feel cold. We don't feel heat. We don't experience radiation from the sun. We are here as Atmas. We project physical forms that are flawless to each other. This is how we recognize each other. This is something you all knew once. And out here in space, the sound is still that rumbling thunder. It's gentle. It's all around us. The light is this white golden light that space looks like to us as Atmas. It's not black at all. The more advanced spacefaring races know how to work with that omnipresent, non-nuclear, non-atomic power, that living energy, so they can travel faster than the limits of the speed of light or gravity or time and space. There are limits to spacecraft made of molecules out of the 144 parallel dimensions in the physical universe. They cannot travel into the astral. You have to go out of your body into your astral form, you're running, and go play on spaceships there. But the Atma itself, the real you, is not limited by spacecraft. We can go anywhere in the multidimensional creation. More advanced races know how to do this as well as travel in spaceships. They have a great advantage over people on Earth. Traveling in a ship of the Galactic Alliance to Earth across the stars, half a galaxy, is to them like riding a bus. You need to understand this. It is not a big, ooh, wow, spaceship ride. For even these beings to remove secondary implants, they have to be out of their body as the Atma to get it to work. They have the technology to do it, but that's used for other things. Technology to remove a primary implant permanently exists on some of the Galactic Alliance ships. It does not exist on Earth. To try to remove that now would kill your physical body. It's set up that way. So what happens is, when secondary implants are gone, you begin to have mastery again over the primary implants, a form of negative programming. The cage contains an actual experience of you're dying and being stuffed here. Not an easy thing to confront. But once it's done, what is in it that influences your decisions on Earth goes away. It's not there anymore. Even with the implant there, if you know what's in it, it's conscious, not subconscious. So these are the first steps we must take. Out in the omnipresent you, outside of the negatively impacted atmosphere of Earth, we have the opportunity to see and know things again with beings who see and know things. Common sense. It makes perfect sense. There's no negative nature recorded in the omnipresent white golden light that supports galaxies out in space. None. That light is connected up through the planes all the way to the source, to the ocean of sound and light, many dimensions above the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, many dimensions above Satnam's realm, and many dimensions above the void. We all come from there originally. That means you're billions of years old in terms of an Atma. You can't even estimate it in terms of time and space at all. Because we were there in the beginning, creating the lower worlds as they are with good and evil as an experiment, attempted to cattle prod people to learn spiritual logic in the right way, it failed. It's a failed experiment. It did not work or do what it was meant to do. Many beings became trapped in the lower worlds. Too much indulgence in this, too much fear of that, too much attachment to this. And then they just got trapped and lost in body consciousnesses, compelled to reincarnate over and over again with little or no memory. When we start plugging into the hue in this way, that cycle of reincarnation and karma begins to evaporate away. This is what we're meant to become, free from such things. There are 12 spacecraft surrounding us in this circle of beings. I'm standing between Master Pelham, Master Ramu towards the earth. Pari's a little to my left. We've got these beings, Chantil and Tonaltial beside me, Dantian and Lamtiam beside Pari, and a man and woman standing beside each one of you, few people. At dinner up above, hovering above the being that is the spherical Atma of Ambassador Turelian. Satnam is standing high up in space, looking down on us, observing what is taking place. 2 gold bracelets on his upper arms, bare chest, strongly built, about 36, bronze skin, bald head, golden eyes. Little white tunic dress from his waist down to his bare ankles. He's just standing there. And above him is this even larger Atma than us, which is the real Satnam. True name, first sound, first personification of a form that looks human you'll find anywhere. That's him. So people think of him that know about him as a supreme being or worshiping him as a god. If you want to worship this man, he'll stand in a great big lotus flower and with a booming voice talk down to you and give you what you want, and you'll learn nothing. We're not meant to put these beings on a pedestal. They're Atmas, maybe greatly more evolved than us, but a co-creator with the source. When we approach such beings as in friendship, then we can walk side by side with them and learn something. If you put someone on a pedestal, even the supreme being, it's always receding away from you, way up there where you can't touch it. We don't do it that way. We go and merge into it. Fear cannot be part of that process. These 12 ships are about 30 feet across. They're Galactic Alliance scouts. Galactic Alliance scout ship does not mean a negative spy vessel. In most of the world and in Latin languages, because of movies and Star Trek and motion pictures, it means a reconnaissance ship. If I say demon scout craft, that's a scout craft from a tyrant race, and that's evil. So there's the difference. When we're translating the book, we have to be careful of such things in Thai because certain things mean something different to Thai people. It's a complicated issue. Understanding this and where we are helps you become wiser, more brilliant. Your IQ goes up, your intelligence expands. This is a natural process when we're working in the pure hue outside of Earth's atmosphere. The 12 ships have 4 couples in each one. They're a blue-gray silver metallic thing with 3 semispheric pods, half spheres on the bottom, thin blue antigravitic light around them. There are couples surrounding us. 7 of them in different locations of the 12 have a couple asleep in the back of the ship. They're standing beside each one of us. The Atma hovering above the form they're showing you. They're out of their body. Yes, they have the technology to do this stuff aboard a ship, particularly when it comes to the primary implant. But they have to be as the Atma to move things out of your electromagnetic field that surrounds the outside of the Atma, just like it surrounds the Earth. What's amazing is the toroidal or 0 point energy, the energy of an electromagnetic field is what Earth people call this, that surrounds a human body. The aura is much wider and larger than few colors near the surface of the body that psychics say, here's the aura. They don't see the whole picture. The same spherical, this toroidal field, this electromagnetic field, looks the same around a human being as it does around planet Earth, as it does around a galaxy. They're all connected. Galaxies float in this omnipresent, non-nuclear, non-atomic energy, this living power. Atmas, you, float in the same power, just like a planet or a galaxy. The difference is you aren't a planet. You're not made of atoms. The Atma can move through that energy anywhere. Planets cannot. Suns stay where they are. They are made in the image of their creators, spherical. That's why they're round. When you start to remember this stuff, you're starting to remember a lot. When you look up at Satnam, you see a vortex of golden white light spinning clockwise, kind of like an hourglass with a narrow throat. There's a blue-green, luminous, water-like light revolving around it. And this moves us through the lower planes in a conduit or corridor that bypasses time and space from the physical, astral, causal, mental, and etheric planes, and it enters the void. You can see Satnam starting to move up through that opening. All of us surrounding Ambassador Trillian. He moves us upward. We're like planets, all in one orbit, standing around this star in the center. He serves in this capacity to keep us focused on gaining benefit from the journey, or we get lost in the phenomena, the dazzling spectacle of the astral, causal, mental, and etheric planes where you have bodies you're running right now. Those higher selves aren't necessarily helping you down here on Earth. These journeys help to wake them up so that the Atma you are running them can get them working with each other and fulfilling your purpose. We are meant to be conscious co-creators, custodians or caretakers of the lower worlds of time and space, plant life, animal life, planets, and atmospheres, and we're meant to be taking care of them with respect. This is not what people on Earth are doing to Earth at all. They are very unconscious, doing quite the opposite. This is why Earth's oceans are depleted. A little bit of hue charged in the equator where you feel good if you get in the water, but they should be glowing. So we're moving up into this throat of this hourglass-shaped tunnel, this portal, this interdimensional doorway, made of the hue that moves up through vibrational levels, unhindered by stopping off in different planes it passes through. Satnam is partially responsible for creating this conduit. He disappears way up high into a pale blue, ominous, infinite atmosphere. And we go up into it with him and look down, and that vortex closes. We don't see the Earth anymore. He's speeding way up higher, and we're going in a spiral after him, upward, across this expansive void. And then in the distance, you see that he begins to land on a white sandy beach. And as we approach it, we begin to realize that this white sandy beach is glowing a foot above the sand. It's very bright. And as you look down this curve of this beach, left and right, it tends to, way in the distance, tends to curve inward, implying that this beach surrounds a massive, round, floating landmass. Now this is the first realm, the Atma realm, above the void. Not in the void, not below the void, above the void. The edge of Satnam's realm borders the top of what we call the void. It creates the power that is sent down through the void to keep that void a barrier between the upper and lower realities. And it goes into the etheric, mental, causal, astral, and physical worlds, galaxies and planes and planets and doorways and portals and dimensions and spaceships and people and beings, and supports them. Always has, always will be. What is underway now is not what has been done in the past, meaning wiping out all the worlds and people in the lower worlds of time and space as a failed experiment. Having people rest in the upper worlds, then rebuild it and send them back. The problem with that is that's been done several times in hundreds of billions of years. And in the end, people end up trapped just like they were before. It changed nothing. You can't keep redoing the same experiment the same way in another 2 or 3 rounds and expect different things to happen, because they won't. So beings are creating now new ways of doing things. And it's mostly done in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, where we're headed. That Hue Expansion Ray Academy in the upper worlds, created between the 6th plane, the 6th Purusha, and where Satnam is, did not exist before about 10 Earth years ago. It was built and suspended and sustained there during that time. It was brought into existence for one purpose, so that the beings who run the mechanics of holding the whole multidimensional universe together on all the dimensional levels, who never really interacted with Atmas like us, it was not their purpose. And master teachers who have more of that compassion to help individual students could work together and begin to create something new, kind of a combination between silent mentor and master teacher. So we're looking at this energy of Satnam landing on this sand. He reaches down and picks up a handful of these little round, polished, diamond-like luminous crystals. They go into his hand, up the top of his head, into the Atma that he is, and then, by taking an example of his demonstration, a few of us, land on this beach. This pure energy form you are reaches down, lifts up the sand, goes down into your arm, which is made of energy, up into the top of your head and up into the white core of your being, the Atma you are. It makes it brighter in all the levels. Then Satnam levitates over this jungle trees, which are very tall, and they look like fruit trees and palm trees, but they're transparent. There's energy moving through them. They're not like on Earth. As we move over the top of the trees, we're greeted and escorted by a male and female bird. They look like blue jays, about 1 foot long, with rainbow-colored bodies, big blue eyes, and 2 sets of bird wings, one above the other, like a dragonfly. But they're birds, and above them is an Atma, a bit brighter than we are. And these are greeters into the realm of the Atma. These beings and these birds have vocal cords. They are telepathic. They have photographic memories. Do not think of them as birds. The Atmas running them enjoy working through this type of form that can transmit much higher faculties of co-creative nature of the Atma through these bird forms. This is the greater potential. This is what people learn how to do in the Atma plane where Satnam is. You can go there sometime and explore over those mountains, long snow-covered mountain range. And as we look into the distance, we see this long snow-covered mountain range and a palatial estate made transparent materials. And down below us is a fountain. It's about 15 feet wide with scalloped edges like a seashell. It's a white, luminous kind of marble, looks like moonstone. And there's a statue of Satnam in it, standing in the center of it, with his palms forward and his hands down by his sides. And he's hovering beside it, pointing to it. It's a device of a sort. The white golden light is coming down through the head of this statue from higher levels, filling this bowl through his hands, goes around the sides of this scalloped edge and drops in this glistening, even golden white sheet of light and vanishes into the ground. Surrounding it is a white marble seat, flat, with scrolled, curled legs supporting it, 12 of them. And what Satnam is doing is pointing upward. And then you see him kind of move right up near it, and then saw Ambassador Turelian and all of us follow him in a line right up into the energy field above the statue's head. The next thing we know, we're shooting upward, and we're going to come out another portal opening between the 6th realm and Satnam's realm, and we're going to enter what's called the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. In the distance at the other end of this doorway we're moving through, you can see way off in the distance a floating, round, massive landmass with an even more brilliant white sandy beach encircling the outer circumference. There's a cobalt blue atmosphere, brilliant blue atmosphere surrounding this landmass. There's nothing else here. No planets, no moons, no suns, no stars, no galaxies, no nebula. And this blue-white light, this white golden light behind it, is the hue itself. You can see 6 snow-covered mountain peaks in the center of this land, in a circle. There is a Hue Expansion Ray Academy which was moved from the western mountain to the center on this island. There is an island of white sand, looks kind of like marble. I use the word marble, but it's not a rock like on Earth. And this blue glass-like, transparent, smooth as glass tower rises up from that island to an oval sphere, an administration area, up to a minaret point. There's a fountain in the center of that oval spherical area. It does not have a statue of Satnam in it. This is above his realm. But there is a white golden light coming down into it. That light comes from the higher realities. The fountain is a kind of device that generates down the higher energy of the hue into one to support the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. Down the base of that administration tower is what we used to find here. A 4-foot-high blue lapis lazuli gold lace type of stone with a 4-foot in diameter blue crystal sphere hovering above it, not touching it, and a brilliant cobalt blue star shining in the middle of it. There's a white golden light coming down into it from the oval academy tower above it. It goes down through the floor and down through the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, down to Satnam's realm, down to the void. There is a blue-green luminous lake surrounding this island at the base between these 6 surrounding mountains. There are 3 areas actually that we should explore. As you look at the base of the outside of these mountains, because we're hovering above the whole facility. We're hovering above it around Turelian as Atmas. We have these body forms we're showing each other, which are pure, young, perfect, flawless. And then we're looking down, and we see that there are white roadways that extend from horseshoe-shaped tunnels that exist at the base of the mountains all the way around it. And these roadways come out and go all the way as straight as an arrow to the beach. They're like the spokes of a bicycle tire all around this. Inside the mountains, they come out of the same tunnels, because that's where they actually connect to the blue-green lake that surrounds this island tower. It's now in the center of this landmass, this floating Hue Expansion Ray Academy, which means the energy coming from the higher worlds is being increased to the lower worlds. It was off-center for a while because the lower worlds couldn't handle that kind of power then. It was kind of cut in half. That recently changed. Turelian is moving us over the western roadway, straight as an arrow. To the right, you can see a pyramid in a clearing. That's where the tree of life is. To the left is a kind of like a grain silo, ivory-collared tower top. And it is a place where we hold what's called the sword of life. Above our head, we pass a certain test. When we go inside that building, first left turn down the western roadway, first teaching facility. We find ourselves inside a curved arena. There are 3 white marble seats flat, one a little wider, concentric circles, another one a little higher, and there are a number of master teachers standing or sitting. And we're standing between them and a foot-high blue disc stage-like area. And what we're doing is standing in a circle on the stage, and you can see that there is a sword pointing downward. Gold jewels in the handle, beautiful blue, glistening, luminous blade, sharp. And it's hovering up above our heads. Consider this a type of an initiation. What you find yourself doing is extending your forefinger and your right hand upward. And this huge sword, which is like maybe 16 feet high, much bigger than your body. The Atma is hovering above the body, so that's what's really holding the finger up, okay? The sword duplicates itself into 12, and then it comes down and sits on the top of your finger. This would crush you instantly, or destroy the physical form you show each other if you weren't prepared. There's no fear, so you'll first feel the pressure of the weight of this sword, and you send out the hue, and you find out that it becomes lighter and lighter, and then it levitates a foot above your finger. It's a two-edged sword, which means the blade must be kept still, not turned to the left or right, because it keeps the energy of the hue focused in one uplifting co-creative way with the source itself. And then you lower your hand, and you'll find that the blade is hovering there above your head. And then it moves down and shrinks. It goes into the white core of your being, the Atma, down into the spine of this physical form that's perfect, and it blends there. Then we're moving down the white roadway. We're turning right to the next turn to the right, which is this big, four-sided, golden-sided, quartz-topped pyramid surrounded by botanical gardens and a kind of a blue stone path leading to a round, glass-like blue door that parts and opens into this flat side of this pyramid. It's bigger than the one in Egypt. Terrellian's walking ahead of us. As the door opens, a little man, a little Asian man, walks out. He's about 5'5", a little hat on, a little Chinese hat like an ancient Chinese master. Maroon kind of robe with esoteric symbols on it. That is Master Light C. He is the custodian or teacher for this facility. So he leads us with his hand inside, and we go inside and we find out that we're standing on the floor, a foot thick, of a golden, luminous, quartz-like floor, glowing. It's charged with the hue. And as we move through it, that charge runs up through our physical appearing forms into the Atma. In the distance, in the center of this massive pyramid, is a gigantic silver tree with roots going down into the floor of this quartz and disappearing. Energies moving up and down them. The needles on the branches are silver, like silver light. And as we approach them and look into one of the needles and one of the branches, we're surrounding it, all of us. And just a small part of it, all of us, just 6 or 7 people, 7 just were barely catching, just moving around one branch. And on the lower branch, when you look into a needle, you see a planet somewhere. Right through the needle, which connects directly to that planet. This is called the Tree of Life. We're going to go into the trunk of that tree, and Light C is leading us. Teaching here is not done on a blackboard. You don't pass tests. You don't do true and false. You go through experience. He moves right through the branches of the tree, moves right through it, passes through it, and then he stands in the center of the trunk, which has this massive white golden light roaring up and down it. And then we move in with him, including Turelian. And all we do is hover there while this light moves up and down through us. This is our co-creative nature with the one power. This shaft in the trunk of this tree goes all the way up to Agam Purusha's realm, many dimensions above here, which is the last guardian, huge being, before you enter the ocean of sound and light. Then we're walking down this roadway to the west. We find ourselves suddenly at the end of the beach. West. There's a teaching facility on the right in a clearing. There's an Olympic-sized swimming pool with glowing blue-green water and a redwood kind of wooden handrail deck, and we're walking along it towards this very large rectangular building set in a clearing. It has convex, curved outward, oval, 6 foot wide kind of windows along the side, each side, the front, the back, and the top. And when we hover above it and look down, we see whole planetary systems through these windows. So we could pass through these openings and go somewhere we want to go instantly in the lower worlds and come back here. They're like portals. And then we see another set of blue, clear doors with a split in the middle, and they open up into the walls, and 3 beings come out. 2 are adults about 10 feet tall. Another one is half their height, but they're all adults. These beings have long silver-like hair, red, gold, and violet-looking eyes. And the younger one, that's the son, who's an adult. Nazanatala, this race came from a galaxy 5 galaxies away from the Milky Way a long time ago. They are master teachers here now. And they escort us inside the opening door. And when we come inside it, they stand aside. And what you see is an Olympic-sized soccer-like field with tall green grass glowing. And up in the center of the interior is this golden transparent sphere, with a little blue star radiating in the center of it. Turelian takes us up and around this, so when you're looking into this sphere, you'll find that the body form you have is moving its hands. And there's an energy coming from the Atma, each of you individually, creating something collectively together inside the center of that sphere. And it begins to take shape. And in it, you begin to see a physical form appear. And then the Atma, you are hovering above it. This physical form, well, it has facial features, but it's glowing much brighter. This Atma you are here has more teardrop shapes in the center and layers than ever existed in the Atma before. What we're doing, if you look around the outside of the sphere, there are 12 silent mentors. They are beings that run the mechanics of the multidimensional universe and hold it in place. There are big Atmas hovering above their heads. They are alternating male to female in different colored, single-colored gowns. When you look at their hair to their shoulders, which are different colors, you don't see any facial features in these forms. All you see is a white glowing light, and if you look deeper, you see levels upon levels upon levels of galaxies. That's how they think. And then, what's happening in the center around us is Satnam is here, Ambassador Turelian, Pelham, Master Ramu, Et and Din, some other beings. And they're kind of hovering around the outside of these 12 beings. And then we find ourselves hovering between them. And the energy between silent mentors and master teachers is flowing easily and effortlessly through us. What it's doing, I do not know. But it has something to do with developing a higher order of beings than what Atmas have always been. That's the most important part. And we find ourselves on the other side of the U Expansionary Academy at the end of the eastern roadway. The glowing white beach is just a few feet away, and to the right is another clearing. It has a walkway leading inward of stone. And on the left and the right are beings behind booths, showing us new inventions and new things they're coming up with. They're displaying them respectfully, so we can observe this as we pass. Men and women, even children, represented here. There are no real children here. That's just a form they're running. They're Atmas, hovering above their forms. And in the distance, it opens up into a huge field of long violet grass, and it changes color from blue to green to violet. This is a type of energy. And hovering above this massive field is bigger than like a soccer stadium. There's no building here, just a big golden sphere hovering in the atmosphere with a blue star in it. And we find ourselves joining hundreds of other men and women, Atmas, moving their hands and creating something new around the blue star inside this golden sphere. And you'll see the same thing. A dozen silent mentors, master teachers inside the center, a blue star with a gold white light coming down into it, and us between them. Then it moves through us. And then we find ourselves out on the western roadway on the other side, hovering above what looks like an ocean of cobalt blue light. You can see a wave that looks like that light crashing on this luminous white beach. It continues around the entire circumference of the U Expansionary Academy and keeps rolling around it. It's creating a sound vortex that surrounds and keeps this place together. Now we're moving out into this ocean of cobalt blue light, and you can see the U Expansionary Academy recede in the distance and vanish. Terrellian opens a spinning vortex like water and moves down into it. We're still around him in a circle. We move down with him. And as that closes above us, we start seeing mammals and animals and sea life and dolphins and whales and Atmas hovering above them, and they're talking with us. These aren't animals. They're Atmas learning how to respect all life. So we just acknowledge their presence and keep going. The next moment, you find yourself in a circle around Ambassador Terrellian, myself and Pari and other master teachers, the 12 ships still circling us. From here, you can even look into the solar system like you have a telephoto lens, and you can see the Emerald Star Cruiser, the same one that's shown in the original artwork on the front of the Sayers Agenda book, with Galactic Scout approaching it to land in the central area of the ship. They don't go through an open launch bay. They raise their molecular time rate and pass right through the metal hull. There are no open launch bay doors on this type of craft. It has a bridge control room on each end for going through interdimensional doorways, either way. It is stationed there along with craft and members from all over the Galactic Alliance to patrol Earth's solar system for two reasons. One, to keep tyrants from ever coming back here. That's done. Two, to keep Earth people from playing in space with their fear-driven, misdirected decision-making about splitting up the spoils, like Russia, China, and the United States. They think they're going to go out there and see who can get the spoils of other people's planets. I can tell you they are already knowing they're in for a big shock. That's never going to be the future of this Earth, because space is already occupied by far more advanced races, and they will not tolerate the lunatics from Earth going out there that way. So Earth is a quarantined solar system for our own protection for now. And then you find yourself back on Earth, hovering near the ceiling with this man and woman beside you. Perfect, flawless. Your form, your physical form is perfect and flawless. This is how we show ourselves to each other. The Atmas, the three of you, are hovering above the forms, and a white golden light is coming down through the ceiling, through you. And then there's this huge toroidal electromagnetic field around your body. It passes through that, through you for your benefit, and then moves onward for the benefit of others. It moves into 3 pyramids on Earth that are stationed there now. 2 on the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans. They're quite large. There is a fountain of Satnam in each one. And they are channeling a kind of energy through Earth now. There's one in a hollowed out interior of a mountain in the Himalayas. There are 3. They converge as the hue comes through this. We're bringing this back to Earth. It's coming down into the pyramids. It's coming through us, and it's connecting. Then it's going out into space, goes to a bigger pyramid stationed between 2 stable asteroids that's located in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter that circles Earth like a planet. It once was one that was blown up a long time ago. Then it goes out into space to bigger pyramids stationed between individual stars now. Then it goes into the white golden light that is the axis or center axiom of the Milky Way galaxy. You can see this when you Google electromagnetic fields around the galaxy, toroidal fields. You can see it. And they show it going up above the galaxy and below it, but it actually continues much further. It goes much ever upward until it connects through other dimensions and goes back to the source itself. In our next journey, we will take a trip into the ocean of sound and light. That is the source. That is Prime Creator. You should know that there are 2 relatively larger dimensions above that source now. The silent mentor realm and the hue expansion ray plane above it. That's a number of dimensions above what you call the Atma plane, or what we call the hue expansion ray academy. Our original source, where we came from, came out of the ocean of sound and light as individual Atmas. We are meant to return there. When you're ready, open your eyes.
This is a very great journey. It's been like maybe 5 or 6 years till now that we can take them to hold this sword, It's great.
Yeah, I couldn't do it before. I didn't have the authority to do it. This is up to Satnam and other beings. They're doing some wonderful things now. I'm getting excited because of what the potential is for these English journeys, Thai translated journeys, group secondary implant journeys. We went in a direction of charging a certain amount for individuals for both secondary implant group and journeys like this. Same.
We need more boots on the ground, I don't know if you all know that things have changed a lot, in each time we go on the journey. And if you have a time or chance, please come join us, as much as you can.
These are going to be, I don't know what we're doing. We can talk with everyone later. When I do one-on-one journeys, they're a couple $100, I think, but they take a great deal of focus. And because they're one-on-one, I can only do just so few of them. I couldn't sit here for 8 hours a day to do 4 people a day times 4 days a week times week. It's not possible to do it. So we're going into the group area so that many more people at less of a cost can join them. I'm trying to back away from the one-on-one journeys because it limits how many people can be involved just by its sheer nature. It would take me years and years to guide individual people one-on-one in secondary implant journeys. It would take years, and it would destroy my body. I couldn't do it. So we have to let this expand in a way that must take place for the good of all life.
And I think if you remember the guy, not Songbot, the guy who had cancer, I think he's here too with us on the journey today. I mean, he helped a lot too.
You know, this man who died of cancer was
ที่
well
น่าสงสารเสียแล้วนะคะ เสียสักพักหนึ่งแล้วนะ
อ๋อเหรอ
He is in the Hugh Expansion Ray Academy now. Do you know why? Because we took him there enough times for him to be grounded there. So when he passed away, he went straight there. So he can evolve much further without a physical body to become a co-creator from there. This is a unique, wonderful gift to this man. But he had the courage to do it while he was dying. So that's where he ended up. Pretty cool, huh? That's very cool. No more karma, no more reincarnation. He's done with it. His wife, who's still alive, also went on these journeys. Okay, I will bring this recording to a stop.